All right, Dan, we are recording.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark.
So welcome, Dan Israel. He's a little shy, but he was the Brown University Athlete of the Decade, former roommate of mine in Cleveland Heights, and all-around great guy. So Dan, introduce yourself, please.
Likewise. Yeah, Dan Israel. I'm the Vice President of Franchising and General Counsel with Goldfish Swim Schools. We're a Learn to Swim franchise company. Started franchising in 2009. We have 112 open locations in the U.S. and Canada, as well as about 130 in development as well. And it's great to be here, Mark. I'm a graduate of Brown University undergrad. University of Michigan Law School. Had the great pleasure of meeting Mark. My wife and I both met Mark while we were in law school, and I always say I like to be attracted to really quality people, as really smart people as well. And so it's been great to know Mark for many years and know him well. In fact, we, again, as Mark said, we were roommates when we were summer interns in Cleveland, Ohio, at law firm. So it's a pleasure to be here, Mark, and a pleasure to be with 360.
Well, the pleasure's all ours. I'm just remembering you in the first week of law school, still swimming at 4:00 in the morning, or it seemed like 4:00 in the morning.
That's right. Good stress reliever when you're a first year in law school.
Yeah. And if it wasn't that shoulder injury, I think it was, you could have been on the Olympics. But
potentially, yep.
Moving on to 2020, or reflecting back on it, since we're now on the other side. What are your thoughts? Good, bad decisions, otherwise?
Yeah, I think the best decision that I made personally, and we probably made as a franchise company, is over communication. And I think it's something we've learned and will continue into 2021 is communicating with your constituents. For us, it was our franchisees and our vendors, for other companies, shareholders, et cetera. I think, over communication, what you're doing to pivot your business, turn your business, what's good, what during the pandemic has been a struggle. And I think the other important thing is just listening and sympathizing, empathizing with your constituents. If your vendors are having problems, for us, our franchisees were struggling when they were closed, is just really listening and being a sympathetic ear. You've got to obviously emphasize what you're doing as a business to turn your business around. But also, I just think over communication on where you are, the good, the bad, is important. And I think we did a good job of that, and we'll continue to do so. I think from a worse decision, probably personally, I would say was not spending enough time relaxing. I think a lot of people working from home, there was an assumption that, people would have a little bit of time off and more time to spend with the family, which I certainly did. But I think in retrospect, I would have wished I would have stopped and taken a deep breath a little bit more in 2020. Was obviously very, very focused and worried about the business, our franchisees, and wish I would have taken a little bit more time to relax.
You're so busy communicating to them.
That's right. So busy communicating. Exactly.
So, and by the way, just before I go on, I'm noticing that, of course, the Notre Dame connectivity, I just wish that if you could just have somebody go to Ohio State would be the trifecta.
Yeah, well, that's right. Ohio. Yeah, my as Mark pointed out, I have a wife my wife is a Notre Dame grad. I have a son that's a senior at Notre Dame, and they had a great football season. It didn't quite end well, but it's a fun rivalry in my household on Michigan Notre Dame weekends. That's for sure.
Absolutely. So now going to 2021. Thoughts there?
Yeah, I think, 2021, obviously technology, right? We all know technology is going to be huge. It's going to continue to be huge in every business. And I think no matter what your business is, I just recently was listening to a podcast, where somebody said, you have to be first in class in technology in whatever your business is to attract investors, to attract customers. Number one. Number two is, I think, for us selfishly, I think franchising is going to be a big thing in 2021. Whether it's white collar people looking to either lost their jobs, looking to control their destiny more. And I think the idea of being in what we call in franchising, being in business for yourself, but not by yourself, having that backing of a franchise company and replicating it. So I think franchising in all different sectors is going to be big in 2021 with more people looking to kind of control their own destiny, open their own businesses.
Maybe could be its own deep dive. We could talk about franchising.
Absolutely.
I was explaining it to my son yesterday. There was a couple at the Dunkin' Donuts that looked like owners. They're acting like owners. And I explained to him, I bet they are the franchisee. And then that led to a whole discussion. What is franchising?
Well, it's funny you say that, Mark, because we have a group of franchisees, and their children were talking to the children of the owner of the franchise company, and apparently the children were having an argument over who owns Goldfish. So, right, and so I said, in some respects, you both do. You got the parents that own the franchise company.
Everybody does.
Their kids think their parents own it because they own a couple units. So, it's certainly a distinction that it's good for people to learn young.
So, speaking of teaching people as they think when they're young, we also try to tell them to help the world. So how are you focused on that this year?
Yeah, so I think philanthropy from a corporate standpoint, from our franchise company, we're very big, obviously, in teaching children how to swim. Our brand tends to go for people with higher income levels. So we've partnered with the United States Swimming Make a Splash Foundation, which is aimed at providing kids with a lower socioeconomic status the ability to learn swimming. The drowning rates amongst minorities are even higher than they are amongst the Caucasian population. So we're big on anything philanthropic that's the number one leading cause of accidental death in kids 0 to 4 is drowning. So drowning prevention is our number one cause, from a company standpoint. Personally, my wife and I have a child with a disability. So anything that's aimed at personally for us, it's aimed at causes to promote the disabled community. Anything from education to sports to inclusion, anything that, to promote both kids and adults with disabilities is something that my wife and I are very, very passionate about and will be our focus for 21.
That's interesting. We have certain core causes for our foundation, and inclusion of a different sort, but or maybe the same sort, and special needs are two of the categories. We were talking earlier. I'll introduce you to some people who are focused on that as well.
Much appreciated.
And now let's help Dan Israel. How do we help Dan? What are your
for me, I think I'm just super glad to be a part of the network. And again, I think it's like anything else. I think it's meet, quality people who are smart people, sharing of ideas. And again, I love to be, hopefully can add value to it too, but just love the idea of being able to network and hear from people that are just, number one, good people, and number two, really smart people. Really, I like being surrounded by really intelligent people, and it seems like we've got a great group here. So very excited to be able to share some ideas and get some ideas.
Fair enough. And then what's your one word that you associate with 2021?
Yeah, I think by far it's gratitude. One of having a child at Notre Dame, Father Hesper, who was the president of Notre Dame for about 35 years, said that one of my favorite quotes is he says, "Gratitude is not only the number one virtue, it's the parent of all virtues." So I think for everybody, having gratitude, having gratitude for what you have, being thankful for what you have. It's obviously been a tough 2020, but I think for all of us, we got to be thankful for what we have, and continue to have that gratitude and thankfulness each and every day as we push forward into 2021 and look forward to the turnaround.